Hey guys, Montel here, and welcome to this edition of Let's Be Blunt with Montel. My guest today had a near-death experience after medication he was taking and was prescribed caused blood clots in his neck to form. And luckily for him, he was working in a hospital at the time, and if he had not been, he might not be here today to tell his story. He suffers from Crohn's disease and Eosinophilic Esophagitis. I hope I got that right. After he started using medical cannabis, he was able to decrease his opioid use from 14 a day down to 1 to 3 per day. He's since founded Les Munchies Inc. and is on a mission to change the cannabis laws in Canada. Jerry Smith, thanks so much for being with us today, and thanks for joining me all the way from London, Ontario, Canada.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, sure. And I know I messed up the malady that you suffer from, but give me the exact name again?
Eosinophilic esophagitis. It took me
Eo
months to learn how to say it.
Yeah, eosinophilic esophagitis?
Correct.
Great, all right, and what is that?
So it's pretty much an inflammation of the esophagus. So I can't swallow food all the time. I puke a lot, even water. Sometimes I'll puke.
Oh,
So I have to go for throat dilations at least once a year, where they expand my throat so I can actually swallow food and water as well.
have they figured out what caused that? Is that something genetic? What is that?
They think it has to do with the Crohn's. So the way they explained it to me is Crohn's can either go up or down. Mine
Got it.
went up into my esophagus.
Wow.
Is the way that they explained it. So I have Crohn's in my top part of my stomach, and then if it had gone down, that's when they get the colonoscopy bags and so on. But mine went up into my esophagus. It took about 10 years of me going to hospitals and trying to figure out what was wrong, with Crohn's even. Um, a lot of bleeding, a lot of puking, and so on. And eventually it turned out to be Crohn's and eosinophilic esophagitis.
Wow, and that's treatable?
It is, yeah. So they treat it with prednisone is one of the main things they use for an autoimmune disorder. And the prednisone, because I'm already on testosterone therapy because I don't naturally produce testosterone. So I'm on testosterone therapy, plus they put me on the prednisone, plus the autoimmune disorders have a chance to increase your rate of blood clots. I formed blood clots in my neck, armpit, both my lungs.
Wow. And that's what almost, I mean, that's really where this near-death experience started. Talk a little bit about that. What was that all about? How did that happen?
So they put me on the medication. I started feeling funny within the first week. So it was my Crohn's medications on top of the prednisone. So I started going into the hospital while I was working, going, something's wrong, something's wrong. I don't feel right. My lungs hurt, my arms hurt. They're like, you pulled it at the gym. They gave me a sling, sent me home. A week later, I was like, something's wrong. Something is really seriously wrong. You need to take me serious. When I wear a mask from COVID, it makes it worse. Like something's seriously in my lungs. It feels like someone's stabbing me with knitting needles. The doctors dismissed me. They said, I'm just like everyone else, trying not to wear a mask. They dismissed me from urgent care. So I went into occupational health to speak with the doctor there. And as I was speaking with her, she called my boss. She's like, you're going green. This is serious. I'm calling your manager. As she called her, I stood up to actually speak on the phone to my boss, and that's when I collapsed.
Wow.
So blood clots from my lungs hit my heart, and right place, right time, like you said.
That's incredible. Have you recovered from that experience?
The lungs,
What?
sorry, let me cut you out there. The lungs are actually, I just found out about 2-3 weeks ago that the lungs are free of blood clots. I still have blood clots in my neck, armpit, and arm. So I'm on blood thinner medication for that. I have a 3 herniated discs in my spine from when I collapsed. I hit my head, so I have C6, C5, T1 vertebrae that are herniated. So that's why they gave me opioids. So the opioids, I was taking 14 a day. I was like, it's still not going away. I'm still in so much pain. I then one day was sitting at home with my fiance, speaking to her about everything, and I ended up going, blah, 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 blah. I couldn't speak. My vision went. I lost all sensations in my right side of my body, my arm. I thought I was having a stroke. So I ended up going back to the hospital. It turned out I had inflammation around my pituitary gland, a 3 millimeter growth on my stalk of the pituitary, and pretty much my system, neurological system, shut down. So I have sensory issues on the right side of my face still, and I have chronic migraines from it. So I do nerve block therapy once a week, where they put all the needles in your face, neck, and so on to help with the pain and the headaches and the migraines. From there, I started speaking to my endocrinologist, my hematologist, my neurologist, and I started asking questions about, can I do anything else other than taking 50 pills a day? I'm tired of taking 50 pills, especially with eosinophilic esophagitis. I would puke all the time because I couldn't swallow the pills. So they all started telling me to start smoking cannabis, start eating cannabis. With Crohn's, eat it. With the blood clots in the lungs, smoke it. With the neurology, smoke it. And I was like, okay. So I started looking into it more. And from there, me personally, a little side backstory. I went to police foundations. I did not think I was going to be doing this. I took policing, went to school for policing. My whole family's police officers, which I'm so proud of. And you also for being in the military. So thank you. But all that. And I ended up going, okay, this is something I need to start looking into. I started smoking cannabis, and I was like, okay, I can not need 14 opioids a day. I can go down to 10 and 11, and like started going down and down and down. After that, I was like, you know what? There's something here. I started calling Health Canada. I started calling ministers, MPs, started having meetings with all of them. So Attorney General's office, ministers here in Canada, or Ontario, I should say, MPs, MPPs, the AGCO, everyone I could possibly think of, I started talking to. From there, it turned out I needed to have a petition, I was told, a handwritten petition to make these changes.
Wait a
So
minute,
while I
what
was
changes were you when you started talking to them first? Let's slow down a little bit, because I just want to follow the story. You started talking to them. Why? I mean, you clearly there's a medical cannabis program in Canada,
correct.
so you have access to cannabis. What were you talking to them about?
So for me, it was there needs to be an alternative way to ingest the medicine. Because at the time, at the very start, I had double lung blood clots. I could not smoke cannabis because I have Crohn's. If I ate right now, the only thing allowed is the non-nutritional gummies, candies, all that kind of stuff. So with Crohn's, I would unfortunately pass more blood in my stools. It'd be a lot of blood. So nutrition plays a big role with Crohn's and autoimmune disorders and inflammatory diseases. So when I started calling them, I was like, is there something else we can do? I called Health Canada. That was the first person I called. I was like, is there a way that we can actually legalize cannabis in food, that we can actually infuse food into cannabis?
So in Canada, it is only available in this candy kind of form. I mean, like here in the United States, you can purchase cannabis infused food products ranging everything from, which I know wouldn't help you, but from popcorn to chips to granola to you name it. And those kind of things would be really dangerous for you, especially with Crohn's. But there are offerings of cannabis infused in just about anything. And then in certain municipalities around the country, um, in private settings, chefs can come in and infuse cannabis in their entire offering of foods, but you can't do that in Canada.
You could do private events in Canada. So from this, I've reached out to many, many amazing cannabis chefs that do private events. They travel from Canada to Portugal to Vegas to they do all these nice events all over the world. Very talented, very knowledgeable chefs. So when I started reaching out to them, getting their support, they loved it. They're like, we support it. If you need us, call us. From there, I ended up speaking to the minister of or no, sorry, not minister of education, coordinators at colleges and universities. And I was like, can we start promoting something where we can actually properly teach people how to infuse it? So we don't have, John from his mother's basement cooking you a brownie and you have a horrible experience for your first time doing it and you don't want to touch it again. Now, me working at a hospital, We're affiliated with a retirement home as well. The amount of residents and people coming to the hospital that I see with diabetes, Parkinson's, Crohn's, and so on, I was like, would you try this if you could eat it instead of smoke it? The amount of people that I have to say were like, I'm against it. I'll never touch it. But if I could do that, I would try it. I was like, okay, like that's a good start. I had a lot of, I guess, retired grandma and grandpas out there, and mother and fathers that were anti-cannabis. They were like, "We'll never touch it. It's a gateway drug. It's all that, all the old stigmas that we do need to work on breaking."
I mean, you clearly felt a difference for yourself when you started realizing that cannabis worked for you for varied things. One, did you find any relief with cannabis from the Crohn's disease? Were you getting relief that way?
Oh yes, the pain went away. Or I should say went away, but it went from like a 8-9 down to probably about a 3-4. So I'm not
Mhm.
getting the cramps. I'm getting not getting that like gut wrenching, twisting feeling in my stomach. The unfortunately the blood was still there, but with the Crohn's medication, it's helping with the blood aspect of it. So I'm kind of doing a half dose of the Crohn's medication while doing cannabis. I'm hoping eventually to be fully on cannabis.
Can you let's talk a little bit more about that for a second. Now, I've had some experiences with some people who have here in the States who have gotten major relief by utilizing a higher CBD than a THC in their infused foods or using tinctures
Yeah.
that have helped their Crohn's. Have you tried anything like that?
I have. I've been trying everything. Like I said, I went to school for policing, so this was not my forte, my area of expertise. So I started actually trying different things. I tried the gummies, didn't work. I tried smoking, didn't work. I tried tinctures. I tried oils. I tried creams. I tried.
And you were trying those in various levels of THC versus CBD.
Correct, correct.
Okay.
I actually spoke to a couple cannabis MDs. They've given me, you know, ways to do it. So during the day, do CBD. At night, do THC to help with the muscle cramps and help relax the muscle to help me sleep better. Because I wasn't able to, I was like a fish out of water. I was in so much pain. I couldn't sleep at night, sleeping 2-3 hours a day sometimes. But with cannabis, changed it completely.
Okay. And then that's what set you on a mission to make sure you could help other people. Is that what it was
Correct.
all about? Okay.
Correct.
And then you started reaching out. You said that your hospital had an affiliation with the nursing home. So what happened
Correct.
there?
So right across the street, there's a retirement home, nursing home. I went there and started speaking to residents while I was like at work and visiting the hospital for trials. And I would see residents outside smoking weed or cannabis in the cold. I'm like, why do you have to go all the way outside to smoke it? Why can't you just ingest it or take gummy bears or so on or so on? Most of them were just either against it, didn't want to try it. I've seen
They
so
didn't
many
want they were smoking it, but they didn't want to try eating it.
eating it. Yes, they were scared because they had a bad experience when they were younger, or so on, right? Which again, that's why I'm looking for regulatory changes, legislative changes, so we can have it regulated, so we don't overdose someone or give too much. They have a bad experience. We're looking at microdosing properly for this, and I'm working with students at Western University here in London, Ontario, and I've had meetings with Fanshawe College coordinators as well to try to get the stuff up and running properly.
Get it being able to be taught so that people can
Oh,
understand
yes,
how to use
yes.
it.
So, because right now, most doctors I spoke to throughout the last year, they don't know about the cannabinoid system. They're not taught it. They don't know too much about it. They're like, we know it works. We understand it works, but we just don't know enough to do anything with it. They know their clients use it with multiple conditions, either Parkinson's or Alzheimer's and so on, which my grandma does have dementia. So I wish, we could help her out, because it's so heartbreaking seeing your loved ones deteriorate in that sense where they forget who you are. And then my grandpa had Parkinson's as well for over 30 years. Strong man. He was like a father figure to me. I wish we knew that kind of stuff back then so we could have helped him as well. But now that we're starting to talk about it more, breaking that stigma, and bringing light to the actual possibilities of cannabinoids and cannabis actually helping people with conditions. When I was traveling throughout Southern Ontario for my petition, I went to events for about 1 hour. I'd go to festivals and stuff like that, and I got over 100 cannabis retailers in Southern Ontario to partake in this as well. So amazing cannabis store owners let me put my petition in their store. Had people signing it while they were coming to buy their cannabis. And then when I went to Ridfest here in Ontario, I stood outside for 5 minutes. I had a sign, I had a shirt, I turned around, I had a lineup of 10 people. The owner, event coordinator brought me in, and I, for about 5 hours, had nothing but lineup of people talking to me about their experiences. And I was like, that's it. This is what I'm doing. This is what my purpose of life is. It wasn't to move forward in policing, it's to help other people out.
And what specifically is your petition asking for? So we
Uh, Regulatory changes and legislative changes, so we can actually, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, right, so you can actually do what?
Legislative changes and regulatory changes, so that way we can actually have restaurants or have at least the ability to send infused food to people with medical conditions. Obviously, recreational will be part of it as well, but my main concern is medicinal. We have almost 400,000 Canadians on medicinal cannabis registration. And that's not including the doctors, the police officers, the firemen that I personally know that use cannabis to manage their pain and so on, right? That aren't registered. So this is where I came up with this idea.
So in Canada, therefore, you're looking for legislative changes that, number one, allow for restaurants. Are restaurants right now in Canada allowed to infuse with cannabis?
No, no,
No.
unfortunately, no. It's only private events that do it. So there's a lot of chefs out there that have been doing it for 20 years or so that are very well articulate in this and educated, and they know about micro dosing and infusing and all that. So they're doing that on the private event scale, but I want to bring it up into restaurants. They'll be ran just like a bar. On the side of working at the hospital, I would work there 5 days a week full time. On the weekends, I would manage a bar, a nightclub. So I've been in that industry for almost 12 years. You name it, I've been stabbed, puked on, kicked, punched, spit on, you name it, I've had it happen. That is legal, which blows me away that cannabis is not legal in this sense. But that is. So I've been meeting with the AGCO, trying to come up with a plan to actually make this possible so we can actually run them like the bar industry. So you have to be of a certain age. There's going to be limitations for serving, like a smart serve here in Ontario. So we don't overserve people with cannabis, and yeah, there's definitely a lot to it.
Got it. So I mean, this is literally a not just. I mean, this is a multi-level system change. You not only want to be able to change the ability for people in Canada to be able to order or go out and purchase infused foods, but you also want to have a consumption license where people can actually go out and consume on premises together, right?
Correct. Yeah. So that way it's safe. It's clean product. It's safe. You're not getting. Some people I know can handle 10 milligrams, but if they take 12.5 or 15, they can't function. So that's what we want to do. We want to have an algorithm. We're working on a system for micro infusing, so we can actually do that.
But it is kind of tough since we do know factually that because of the endocannabinoid system, everybody is different.
It's different.
So there are some people who can't. You just said it. Some people can't handle 10 milligrams.
Yeah.
There are other people who don't get effects until they hit 50 to 150 milligrams. I mean, I know on any given day, I have consumed as high as 150 milligrams. Um, in edibles myself and functioned and gone to work and done multiple speeches and done a couple television programs, and it doesn't seem to affect me the same way that does other people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how would you be able to, from a bar standpoint, where would you limit the person's ability to purchase XYZ? And that wouldn't be fair
Yeah.
for people who have a higher, threshold. Um, or would it just be making sure that the product itself um, wasn't too overly. You put it in dosages that person could actually end up titrating themselves to the level that it work.
That's correct. The last part you said there is what I'm aiming for, because a lot of people come to me with those questions. They're like, "How are you going to not overserve someone or serve someone too little, or how are you going to get home safe?" And I'm like, just like the bar, you take a cab, you Uber, you so on, take a bus, get a DD to get home. The overserving, I propose stuff to the regulatory system, which is the AGCO. They'll be in charge of actually writing how we're going to do it and what we're going to do. I've just made proposals. I would like an algorithm that we can go in on a smartphone or a tablet and put in what you do, like your height, your weight, so it's all an algorithm that we can actually put into place. You do it once and then it monitors it. So there's a way to say you took 15 this time, it was too much. You came in next time, you took 12, it was too little. So that way we can microdose you by 0.5 to find out the perfect dose for you. Now with the delivery system, it's for people with mobility issues and wheelchairs or Parkinson's or so on, that we can actually deliver it to their houses and the sauces with the meals. That's what I would love to see. As someone who has a lot of medical health issues, I'm actually seeing a rheumatologist right now because they believe my autoimmune disorders have actually mixed with the medication and created a third autoimmune disorder. They're believing it is psoriasis arthritis. So now my joints are starting to seize and so on. So it hurts because I used to be a big bodybuilder. I used to I work out 16 hours a week, never missed a day at the gym in almost 11 years. And now I struggle to play with my 1-year-old, now 2-year-old, and my 5-year-old son. And I used to be the fun dad that was the big guy that could, play ground. I couldn't do anything for almost a year and a half. I struggle going up the stairs to do laundry and so on. But second I started doing more cannabinoids and cannabis and everything like that, I was like, I could move again. The Percocets were nice, but I was getting a lot of vertigo, a lot of dizziness. I couldn't function as a parent should be functioning, but thank God I have an amazing wife and family that come and help me all the time. But for that, I was like, we need to switch more to the CBD, the CBG, and so on, and focus more on this for medical reasons. So, but we need the education support on this, because when I've spoke to Crohn's and Colitis and Arthritis Society and all these societies here in Ontario, they're like, there's no Canadian research. There's tons in Israel, tons in the States, but they want to see more Canadian research as well, to support all this kind of stuff.
Well, I think there is what's so crazy about that is that just like here in the United States that we have doctors all the time saying there's not enough research.
Yeah.
There is plenty of
There's
research
plenty.
right now. I know in the last 10 years there's been over 35,000 research documents that have been peer reviewed, studied, and published around the world, Canada included in some of those documents, that outline cannabis and cannabis's effect in various forms and modalities. So now you're a father of 2 boys, and your 5-year-old son has autism. Tell
Correct.
me about his recent scare with his prescribed medication.
That was 10 times more scarier than anything I've ever gone through. So my 5-year-old son got diagnosed with autism about a month ago. They wanted to put him on a trial medication. I don't think I'm allowed to say it, but the trial medication for it. And I was like, well, can we try cannabis instead? Can we try CBD instead? And they're like, no, we think this is the best option. They put him on the medication. Excuse me, sorry. They put him on the medication. I want to say about a week and a half later, I called the doctor and I was like, something's wrong. He's having nightmares. He's peed his bed. He doesn't do this. He's never done it. There's something. And she has said, continue on, like continue upping the dose, continue taking the dose. About a week after that, I called her back and I was like, he's now talking to people that aren't there. He says he sees black dots. He sees, it's fine. Continue the medication. So I took the initiative to lower the medication for 3 days. I felt something was wrong, so I downed the dose, 1 pill, and then I called her and I was like, something needs to happen. She said it's completely fine. Up the dose to the 45 milligrams a day. and we'll do a check on him. So I brought him to school on the 20th there on Thursday. And when I went to go pick him up, there was 3 teachers shaking him, trying to wake him up. I was like, this is not normal. We finally woke him up. I got him home. He was awake for about an hour and a half-ish, an hour. He wanted food. I fed him. And then I gave him his second medication, like the doctor told me the day before. So I gave him his second dose of medication. Within a half hour, he was like, I'm tired. I was like, no problem, buddy. Sleep on the couch. He went to sleep. After several hours, I was like, this is not normal. I went to go wake him up. His eyes were rolled back. He was struggling to breathe in his sleep. He was panting kind of like a dog. My wife and I, or fiance and I, immediately called an ambulance. Ambulance showed up. We got him to the hospital. It turned out he was overdosed on this autism medication. His heart had dropped to about 45. They said if we had not got him there that night, he would have died from an overdose. Sorry, sorry. It's hard. It's hard. But sorry.
It's okay.
But yeah, seeing him unconscious, I carried him unconsciously into the ambulance. When the ambulance driver showed up, they wouldn't allow me to go because of COVID, so my wife went. That day, they put an IV in him. There was about 8 doctors around him. They were working on him so hard to make sure he didn't overdose. They gave him the counteractive medication for it. They said it usually takes about 12 hours for it to get out of his system. It took about 18, close to 20 hours for him because it was such a high dose for him. So yeah, he was almost unconscious for a day, laying in the hospital, breathing tubes on him, and so on. It's hard because I wasn't allowed to be there, so my wife was there for him. The next day, they said he was awake. My wife FaceTimed me. We talked, and then I was allowed to go to the hospital and see him. And then I stayed there for the next 2 days with him until he was stable enough to be sent home. So now I'm kind of more adamant about cannabinoids and cannabis with autism research than ever before. And that's when I reached out to you guys.
I mean, is he able to be prescribed cannabis in Canada for his autism?
I have a meeting next week with a doctor. So with a cannabis doctor. So I'll be speaking to him. I hope that they do prescribe it for him. I would love to. I even said I'll do a clinical trial because no matter what clinical trial there is, it will not be as bad as what just happened. What just happened to him on the autism medication.
I mean, how does the medical cannabis system work in Canada? I mean, is he capable? Can a doctor prescribe it for him in Canada?
Oh yes, I'm prescribed cannabis from a doctor here in Ontario. So I get prescription medication, cannabis, and I get discounted rate, a little cheaper rate as well. But my benefits don't cover it. My benefits cover everything else. The worst part about that, it sucks because my benefits, I believe it or not, got not approved for disability when I went on disability. They said no. And I was like, I have all these conditions, even though that I've shown them proof. I gave them over close to 3,000 documents of medications from medications, doctor notes, doctor reports. I went through, I want to say, over 25 MRIs, CT scans, blood work 2-3 times a week, sometimes for a year. I was in and out of the hospital almost daily doing tests. And they said, we see that you have these conditions. We see that you have, but we cannot approve you for disability, which just absolutely blows my mind. But so I'm kind of fighting that right now.
And that's a separate battle from the other battle.
Yes, it's been one heck of a year. Or a heck of 2 years. But for me, the scariest thing that made me go, okay, I need to do this more strictly and start reaching out more is after my son almost passed. I don't want to see any other parent have to carry their unconscious child into an ambulance, or worse, lose their child. We were not even given options to try cannabis, even though I asked. That is a big thing. Why are doctors not saying, look, there is scientific research. There is this available. Why don't you try it? Or do you want to try the, there's no option, which is something that needs to change as well. Now, like you said, there are a lot of medical um, uh, documents and research all over. Like I know Guelph University does it, and Hamilton St. Joe's Hospital. They all
University of Vancouver.
yeah, they all do it. So I actually spoke with one of the MPPs that actually helped with changing legislative here in Canada when it first happened. I contacted her and I was like, "This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it." She goes, "You don't even need to speak anymore. We already have all the information we need." So she goes, "If you get provincially approved," she goes, "federally will be so much easier." And then I was like, "Okay, so I'm going to focus on provincially." So that's why I got a provincial petition going. I have about 8,000 signatures on it right now. And the premier's office said that they only want about 2,000. And I got all the way up to 70,000 by myself, fighting my conditions in and out of the hospital. And so I'm trying to be a father and trying to be a fiance as well. So
And now, how does the system work right now? I mean, again, you are allowed to have cannabis in flower form, tincture form, right, extracts form, and you can even have edibles right now in Canada, but those edibles are primarily candy.
candy, yeah. So no one's focusing too much on the nutritional value of it, which just blows me away because our whole system. I always say our brain is our second system. It's our stomach is the overall health for everything else, right?
Our
So
gut, right?
our gut. So it's our gut brain. So that's why I want to focus on changing stuff to actually get nutritional things, meals, food, snacks infused with everything. So that way we can help people who have diabetes, and Parkinson's and Crohn's and Alzheimer's with nutritional a menu option.
And that's why you started Les Munchies. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Les Munchies was
Les
an
Munchies.
idea. Yeah, Les Munchies. I'm half French or quarter French, so I went with Les Munchies. So I wanted to have that business going, so we can actually, once we change legislative and regulatory system, we can actually create a restaurant, get a business going, get a franchise going, and have it all over. I've had people reach out from Vancouver, Alberta, start seeing me in the newspapers and magazines and being like, "Can we buy that?" I'm like, "I can't yet. We need to change legislative, regulatory system and move forward from there." I would love to see events happening, to have musicians on board, to have live events, live music festivals with cannabis, with food vendors there, which I've already spoke to multiple vendors, companies that do this. They're on board with it, for multiple reasons. Even when I spoke to MPs, ministers, and so on, I had a couple say, "Well, we don't like cannabis. We've never tried it. We don't want it. But we do see the benefits for the tourism industry, for agriculture, for so on and so on. So we will support it for these reasons. Educational system, if we can develop more programs, that's going to bring in more students, so more tourism for London, which is big for students here in London."
Sure. And how are you now doing? I mean, you've been fighting this fight, but at the same time, keeping yourself medicated. How are you feeling now?
I am more functional. I'm still in a lot of pain. I was silly and tried to shovel my laneway for 10 minutes yesterday, and I was on the couch for about 3 hours after. I was in so much pain I couldn't move. So I just had some cannabis, took an opioid and laid on the couch, and then got up and got my kids ready and put them to bed.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I have a duffel bag of medication beside me, but I do what I can. It's hard. I'm trying to manage everything at once, but I have to be able to function as a father, right? So it's hard. I have to kind of suck it up, take the pain some days just to do what I have to do, and then once the kids are in bed, I'll have a little bit more, so that way I can relax and not be in pain at nighttime.
Gotcha. Well, I'm telling you, Jeremy, we wish you a lot of luck. We're going to keep an eye on your progress. Let us know, fill us in from time to time. Tell us what's going on. People wanted more information in Canada and people wanted more information here in the United States. Where would they go?
They can contact me directly, and I have a lot of connections I can bring them to. I have people from the States actually. After amazing people from the States after seeing my articles, sending me cannabis in the mail to say, try this, try this. To me, cannabis is a family. We need to get rid of that stigma and bring in the overall health aspect of it. And people all over the world are contacting me. Even in Nigeria, I've had people contact me about this, asking how to change legislative so they can do it there.
Right.
Which I have obviously no idea how to do that, but I'm working on Ontario first. Maybe eventually we can go worldwide with it. But right now, my main focus is Ontario and improving people's quality of life. That's my biggest thing.
Okay, well, congratulations to you for all the hard work, and we'll keep an eye on you, and check in with us from time to time. Let us know how you're doing. I
I
wish
will.
your son well. I hope you stay well, and again, people will reach out to you. Do you have a website of your own, or?
I don't. The website I just bought, so we're working on making it right now. But I do have Munchies Merch 519 Instagram. I have up and running now. Trying to track the progress of when I'm meeting MPs and people in the community and so on. So I do have Les Munchies. Munchies Merch at gmail.com is my email if anyone wants to reach out. My phone's on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, my friend. And look, you stay well. And I'm going to make sure that everybody home, we're out of time. Everybody at home understands that you keep watching and keep tuning in to Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Thanks for joining me on Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Please make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell to be notified when new episodes post each week. We'd love to hear your feedback also, so please send us your comments.